Happy Friday, TGIF. This is First Take. Thanks for being with us. Alongside Skip Bayless and Stephen A. Smith, they're both in the house promptly. I'm Molly Karam.
A sight for sore eyes.
What up?
Bristol,
what up?
Connecticut.
What up?
How are you?
Bristol's finest
Wow.
in the house.
I didn't take any chances with the traffic.
Yeah.
I stayed here overnight.
Yeah, way to go.
I stayed
enjoy
here
yourself?
overnight. Oh yeah, you know,
Yeah.
I chilled. I had a decent time.
Good. Good.
I'm all right.
Got some
Yeah.
sleep, hopefully.
bet.
Oh, I got
We got a lot to get into.
Yeah. By the way, before we get into
Yeah.
that, I want to congratulate Molly on picking Peyton last night. That was impressive.
Thank you. I know who to side with moving forward. 1-0.
Oh my goodness.
One for the good guys.
Congratulations,
Wait,
Molly.
team Skip over there,
Yeah.
right?
So what we doing here?
Skip and Skip Jr.
No, Molly,
Kid Bayless and Kid Karam.
Molly could get in on the pick. She could do that. She could do that. She's qualified.
Yeah.
Bring it.
Okay.
It's okay. It's okay. Even though I don't know about the objectivity.
Don't be scared. Don't be
I'm always
scared.
scared. I'm always scared.
All right, next
Let's
question.
go.
Coming up, we're diving into all the Week 2 NFL matchups. We'll break them down. The guys are going to pick winners. That is in just a bit. But first, Thursday night football. Peyton Manning looking good at Arrowhead last night, throwing for 256 and 3 TDs. It's the first time in his career that he's won a game in regulation after trailing by 7 or more points with under a minute left in the fourth. Jamal Charles' second fumble of the game with just 27 seconds was returned by Denver corner Bradley Roby for a touchdown, costing the Chiefs the game and completing a ridiculous comeback in the Broncos' 31-24 victory over Kansas City. Peyton looking like himself. Jamal Charles with those costly errors. Skip, did the Broncos win this or did the Chiefs lose it?
Stephen A. Smith, Peyton Manning won it. Period. End of story. And talk about a sight for sore eyes. I loved what I saw late in that game last night at Arrowhead, because after all we'd heard and all we'd talked about all week on this show about how new coach Gary Kubiak, with the blessing, I'm assuming, of his GM John Elway, had basically put Peyton Manning in assisted living at age 39, had basically told Peyton, no, you're too old to drive now. I need to be driving for you. I can drive you. I can drive you from goal line to goal line, but you have to listen to me, and I'm going to be in charge of the offense now. Poor little Peyton Manning in assisted living. That's how it came across. And then that happened. And that happened because that team fell behind 14-0. And all of a sudden, Gary Kubiak's like, I guess I gotta hand the keys back to Peyton and hope he can pull it out. And did he ever? That last drive, that was a thing of all-time great beauty. To go 10 plays, 80 yards, last 19 to our guy Emmanuel Sanders for a big touchdown to tie it, 24. Then we know about the faux pas thanks to Jamal Charles at the end of the game that did happen to win it, although I thought Peyton could have won it in overtime. And Stephen A., after all the talk about how Gary Kubiak, we talked and talked about this, it's going to bring the new Broncos a new, bigger, badder running game. They had a whopping total of 61 yards last night on 22 tries for a whopping 2.8 yards per try. And despite being propped up by that running game, Peyton Manning still pulled that off at Arrowhead, where, by the way, career now, Peyton Manning at Arrowhead is 7-1 with 23 touchdown passes to 6 interceptions against his arch rival in one of the loudest outdoor stadiums in the world. And I'm going to say this again because I said it yesterday and I said it the day before. Going forward, I will still bet on Peyton Manning's resume, even at age 39. He looked 29 last night. But I'll bet on his resume over Gary Kubiak's resume. All this talk is just silliness to me because however far the Denver Broncos are going to get this year, now 2-0, Peyton Manning will take them. I thought he did have a lot of help from a defense that I have raved about on this show because I think it's being a little underrated as people are saying Peyton is now overrated. But with some help from his defense, Peyton Manning won that football game.
No surprise, we disagree. I'd give Peyton Manning credit. 26 of 45, 256 yards, 3 touchdowns, just one interception. That one interception was a pick six, by the way. We'll throw that out there. I'm talking about a Peyton Manning that has thrown for over 4,000 yards the last 3 seasons, that the season before last passed for over 5,400 yards through 55 touchdowns. Last year he threw 37 touchdowns. The last 3 years in Denver, he's had the #2 or the #1 ranked offense in the NFL.
Okay.
At this particular moment, they're ranked 16th. So when you sit there and you want to
You mean in this season they're ranked 16th?
So far.
Well, they played the Baltimore Ravens.
I understand all of that. Well, there's Peyton Manning.
Yeah.
And Peyton Manning has played a lot of elite teams over the last 3 years. It hasn't stopped him from doing his thing. Usually the problem has been with Denver's defense, which, by the way, is not a problem anymore. That defense for Denver is big time. It is legit. They are no joke. And Von Miller is a big-time brother right there. This boy can play, okay? And he goes out to get after the quarterback. Even DeMarcus Ware.
I thought DeMarcus showed me some flashes.
DeMarcus Ware showed up.
Yeah.
Showed up. Dallas, you know, he ain't finished. Let's just put it that way.
Yep.
Having said all of that, the reason why I would still say to you that as great as Peyton Manning was when it counted, and we certainly should take nothing away from him, Kansas City Chiefs turned the ball over 3 times. I mean, they had 3 fumbles for crying out loud.
But I mean, five times.
Yeah, but because you had Alex Smith throwing a couple of interceptions, you had the 3 fumbles on the part of Kansas City, 2 by Jamal Charles, who I thought played lights out. Really actually felt sorry for him because the brother was running the football very well. It's just unfortunate that he ultimately, lost the ball. They said he was carrying it loosely. Roby pointed that out, that they saw him carrying the ball loosely all night long. So they knew that they would have an opportunity to get their hands on a football or punch the football out of his possession, and that's exactly what they did. But I'm going to sit there and say Kansas City lost it not just because of the turnovers, but yet again, what did they do with their receiving corps? And see, that's where this really comes down to me. Jeremy Maclin, 4 receptions. Kelsey, 4 receptions. O'Shaughnessy, 2 receptions. Thomas, 2 receptions. I'm just looking at them right now. Once again, no receiver caught a touchdown pass. Even in this case, tight ends or anybody else didn't catch a touchdown pass. You had Jamal Charles, you had Nile Davis. They ran for touchdowns. But in the end, there's something missing from this Kansas City offense. I thought that their defense played well, obviously kept them in the game, gave them leads. 2 scores by Denver were provided by, Kansas City turning the football over. So I say that to say that had a lot more to do with them losing last night's game than Peyton Manning's greatness. Not to take anything away from him, because when it counted, when money time arrived, he drove them right down the field, got the job done the way a Peyton Manning caliber player is expected to deliver the goods. So nobody's taking anything away from Peyton Manning. The problem is, had Kansas City simply not turned the ball over, they would have won this football game. They didn't beat them. They beat themselves more so than the Denver Broncos beat them on this particular night. We know Denver's the better team as far as I'm concerned because they got Peyton Manning on offense and they have that defense, whereas Kansas City has their defense and they've got Alex Smith on offense. I just don't see it. Once again, he's not bad. The guy has a winning record. I think his record right now as a starter is 40-18-2, okay, or 40-18-1 rather. But I just look at him and I see a guy that when it's time to make a difference, to really elevate yourself to another level. Is Alex Smith going to do that? The answer is no. What he's going to do is he's going to manage the game. He's going to be consistent and methodical and relatively productive. He won't beat himself. He won't lose a game for you, even though he gave up pick 6. But what he will do is he will sit up there and essentially be neutralized in the event that you need him to step up and get it done for you. Jamal Charles was who you were going to have to rely upon to get that job done. I wish Andy Reid hadn't called the pass play before the half, which enabled Denver to tie it up with the pick 6. So then obviously recognizing he made that mistake at the end of the first half, he turned around near the end of the game and said, let's be relatively conservative and conventional here and give the ball to Jamal Charles and just go into overtime. And sure enough, he got the ball straight.
A lot of people were ripping Andy Reid for just doing that without kneeling on, just like letting the clock run out.
Well, yeah.
Hey, Jamal Charles is as dangerous a breakaway back as there is in all of pro football.
I agree with you.
So I'm okay with handing him running a draw play.
I can't knock Andy Reid for that. What I can knock Andy Reid for is letting Alex Smith throw that pass. If you're going to throw a pass in that situation near the end of the first half, throw it downfield so even if it gets intercepted, the likelihood of it being returned for a pick 6 is null and void. he put himself in a position for Alex Smith to get caught out there like that. That's 7 points that it cost the Kansas City Chiefs, and I think they had a lot to do with them losing this game.
Point of order. The reason I'm going to give Denver's defense more credit than I'm going to blame Kansas City for those 5 turnovers, I thought 4 of the 5 were forced errors by the defense, where they made a play to dislodge the football as opposed to just a poor pass or a careless fumble or whatever. Somebody just lost the ball. I thought Denver was attacking the football.
I definitely think they were attacking the football, but I think that the reason why they were doing so is because, as Roby pointed out, he saw Jamal Charles carrying the football loosely all night long. In that case of the interception by Alex Smith, that is not a pass play you call in that situation, in my estimation. I think Denver was waiting for it, so I think those were 2 giveaways.
Okay, here's my other issue with your critique. You cannot blame a team for losing that you don't think was good enough to win in the first place, because you're also telling me you're not sold on Kansas City.
Yeah, but I picked them to win last night's game. Okay. So that does not apply to me. Okay. I picked them to win last night's game.
Okay, I did not.
All right, then.
And I said yesterday in the first hour of the show, you were a little belated to come to the show yesterday, but in the first hour, I said that, once again, I'm not sold on these Chiefs as a big-time Super Bowl contending type football team. And it starts with that quarterback. I'm sure he's a nice guy. This is nothing personal against him. They were 0 for 7 on 3rd down at home against your arch rival. You're going to have a hard time winning the football game when you're 0 for 7, especially when you turn it over 5 times. But it all comes back to an Alex Smith, and you just said it. He's okay. Some days he's pretty good, and some days
I've always
he's
felt
not
that way
good
about
enough.
Alex Smith, which is why I said, even though Joe Montana told me that there's no way on earth he would have let Alex Smith go, he would have kept him in San Francisco, even ahead of Colin Kaepernick. I certainly
maybe if you surrounded him with an even better football team with better skill people, maybe better receivers. I don't know, but I still don't think so. I think the Chiefs are who I thought they were, and they're not as good as the Broncos, so I'm not going to blame them for not being as good as the Broncos in the end.
Well, the other thing that I would point out about the Denver Broncos that none of us need to forget, Molly, Skip, C.J. Anderson and Ronnie Hillman, you need to have a better running game than what they gave you last night. 61 yards rushing. Well, I'm just saying that's a big, big deal, because we can sit there and talk all we want, but the less effectively they run the football, the more it puts pressure on Peyton Manning. And in this at this particular juncture of his career, regardless of how much everybody's raving about the resurrection of Peyton Manning because folks thought that he was dead, I certainly didn't think so, but there's something to worry about in terms of age, attrition, father time, etc. Peyton Manning went down a couple of times, but he wasn't even touched. He just sort of rushed, and it was like, he just went down.
But that's just smart.
That's
how you play till you're 39, right?
You're not hearing my
You give up to fight another day.
You're not hearing my point.
But I was drinking the Kool-Aid with the running game, too. That zone blocking scheme, we talked about it back in California.
That was your first show. You brought it up.
And they haven't ran effectively at all. I thought that's what was going to happen.
Absolutely right. And what I'm saying to you, Skip, is this. All I'm trying to point out, I'm not saying that Peyton Manning was not smart. I'm saying that if your running game doesn't give you any level of production, you're going to see a lot more of that, because you've got to get something from these guys. C.J. Anderson is too talented. I mean, this guy came out like a gangbuster last year.
You remember last year on a Sunday night at Arrowhead? Yes. He ran these people out of their own building.
That's right.
Okay, and last night he goes
27 yards on 12 carries.
27 on 12 tries? Wow. Really?
You've got to get more.
Doesn't that even increase your respect for what Peyton pulled off last night?
Sure it does. Sure it does. But I've never lost respect for Peyton Manning. You have to remember, the issue that we had with Peyton Manning was what was going on with him and Gary Kubiak. We did see some level of regression from the time that he got beat up by St. Louis last year, and then he incurred the hamstring injury.
I think that's when it started.
Yeah, but then a hamstring injury against San Diego. The issue with Peyton Manning was his health. It was not his game. But then when you combine questions about his health and age and father time with potential differences that may have been in existence with him and Gary Kubiak, now you've got a problem. So then, now you're coupling all of that with the absence of a productive running game. That's where you have your problem, because no matter what we see from Peyton Manning, I mean, look, I'm telling you right now, he's smart to go down. You're absolutely right. Because when he does get hit, it looks like it hurts him. It really, really does. Ain't nobody going to knock it. I'm just saying, ain't nobody going to knock him for that. Again, father time, age, we've been watching him get hit for years. I'm just seeing it have an effect on him more so now than it did in the past. There's no shame in that. I'm just simply elevating the level of importance of a running game for him.
Okay.
Because regardless of how gifted he is, he can't sit back. He doesn't appear to be somebody that can sit back anymore and take the punishment that he once was capable of taking.
Okay.
That's something we got to watch out for.
Coming up, I also want to hear where you guys think they'll end up if they'll go all the way to the playoffs, and we'll discuss the tension between potentially the quarterback.
Well, we'd like to hear what you
Garrett
got to say about
Kubiak.
that too, Molly.
We will.
You're
We're going to
Peyton
we're going to
expert,
discuss
yeah.
we're going to
We wanna hear.
that later on.
All I'm saying.
Last